Okay. Good morning. It's 10:30 a.m. So I will be calling this regular meeting of the zoning administrator to order. My name is Amy Nicholson, and I am the city's zoning administrator for today's meeting. Item number 2 is approval of minutes. 2.1 is the draft minutes from the February 26th meeting. We are now taking public comments on the February 26th, 2025 draft minutes.
If you're attending in person and would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. Zoning administrator, there are no public comments.
Great, thank you. So those minutes are approved as submitted. Moving on to the next set of minutes from the March 12th, 2025 meeting. We're now taking public comment on the March 12th, 2025 draft minutes.
If you're attending in person and would like to make a comment on those minutes, please raise your hand. No comment?
Okay, so the minutes from the March 12th meeting are approved as submitted. We have a third set of minutes from March 19th. We're now taking public comment on the March 19th, 2025 draft minutes.
If you're attending in person and would like to make a comment on these minutes, we have no comments.
Okay. Thank you. So the minutes for the March 19th meeting are approved as submitted. Moving on to item 3, this is non-agenda public comment. I wanted to announce that item 6.4, which was a scheduled item. This is for a minor conditional use permit located at 1542 Sebastopol Road. That item is being continued to the next regular zoning administrator meeting on August 21st, so 2 weeks from today. That item, because it's no longer being heard today, has moved under this category as a non-agenda item. So if any member of the public would like to make a comment on that item, as well as any other item that may be of interest to the zoning administrator, you may do so now.
If you're attending in person and would like to make a comment,
No comment.
there are no public comments.
Okay, thank you. So we will close public comment and move on to our regularly scheduled items. First, I will read the statement of purpose. The zoning administrator is appointed by the Planning and Economic Development Department Director and has the responsibility and authority to conduct public meetings and hearings and act on applications for minor or streamlined projects or entitlements. A determination or decision by the zoning administrator may be appealed to the Design Review and Preservation Board, Planning Commission, or City Council as applicable to the decision. All actions taken by the zoning administrator may be appealed within 10 calendar days. If the final day of the appeal period falls on a non-business day, the appeal period will be extended to the next business day. And I have no reports and there are no consent items. So our first item for today is a minor conditional use permit for a hotel and residential use project. And Ms. Murray will be giving a staff presentation.
So the project before you this morning, Zoning Administrator Nicholson, is the Art House Mixed Use Hotel and Residential. It's located at 620 7th Street. This is actually a change of use. It was approved with multifamily housing back in 2007. And then there was a kind of a funny short-term residential use approved through a zoning clearance in 2018. Not quite sure what happened there. And so this is kind of a correction. It's a conditional use permit for a mixed use that is comprised of hotel multifamily units, 10 residential units and 12 hotel. The entitlement is a minor conditional use permit. And here's an overview of the Art House location. It's on the corner of 7th and Riley. This is kind of more of a close-up picture down in the lower right-hand corner. It shows it's a segment of that building. The area is pretty well developed to the south and west with commercial uses to the north, older residential neighborhoods, and a mixture on the east there. So the area is designated core mixed use, both on the general plan land use diagram and in the zoning district, which is good news. They are consistent, and the zoning code requires the minor conditional use permit for the use. This was initially approved back in 2008, as I mentioned earlier, with both the Design Review Board and the Planning Commission. At that point, it was entirely residential. Because the change is negligible, it still qualifies it falls under the scope of the previous project and is exempt as infill development from the California Environmental Quality Act. We have received some comments. There were some comments that didn't really apply, some tax questions, short-term rental questions, and these they're not really applicable. Well, I don't know if the tax questions aren't applicable, but those would be better suited for the county tax assessor. And then in terms of the use and what have you, it is kind of this is more of a correction. I think the minor use permit is correcting the previous action of the zoning clearance. So we did receive several comments in favor of the project. There was some concern that the plans didn't accurately depict the change. Well, I don't believe that we will be holding them or the hotel/residential building owner to certain rooms. Certain numbers, yes, but if they change, if they vary from the third floor to the fourth or whatever, it really doesn't change. So in the building, there are 22 units. 12 of them will be designated for hotel, 10 for residential purposes, longer term. There are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review, and the applicant has agreed to all conditions of approval. And staff's analysis has also concluded that all required findings can be made. So with that, it's recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator by resolution approve this minor conditional use permit to allow mixed-use development comprised of multifamily residential and hotel uses at the Art House, 627th Street. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for that presentation. I do not have any questions of staff at this time, but I do know the applicant is present. Did you want to make any comments?
Just very briefly, thank you very much for the staff work on this over quite a long period of time, actually. Just for the record, two things. One, unless I'm mistaken, this is actually under ordinary circumstances a permitted use within this zone. But what triggers this need for a minor use permit is that it is, quote, adjacent to a residentially zoned property, which is the parking lot across the street on 7th Street, which was operated as an ancillary use to the Press Democrat building for many years, but is a residential zone document. So I think that's why we're literally in front of you right now. And secondly, I had not noticed it before. There is an error, but it is inconsequential in the final condition on the resolution. It calls out our obligation in this project for maintaining the street trees on Humboldt Street. The property actually has no frontage on Humboldt Street. We do, however, own and operate the building next door, which is on Humboldt Street. And that's why, from our standpoint, it's a distinction without a difference. But perhaps the record should just note my comment about that. And beyond that, I would say, in terms of the public comment, of course, we appreciate the support. There was a comment that there was significant public investment in this project. There was no public investment in this project. And that there was an affordability requirement of some kind. There was no affordability requirement in this project. Those were simply a mistake by the commentator. Beyond that, happy to answer questions.
Great. Thank you very much.
I would
Or-
like to get that
Okay,
corrected,
I
that
was going to ask
condition,
about
and
that.
yeah, so what I'd like is the zoning administrator's permission really to follow up with staff and engineering after the meeting and approval or to modify that condition if it should be removed.
Sure.
I agree, it is not on Humboldt Street, so that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but I want to make sure there's been a lot of one-offs with this project, so I just want to make sure that nobody else knows something I don't.
Sure, okay.
So-
I agree that that's the appropriate way to reflect the correction there. So I will look forward to that change. And just in terms of the findings, I believe all the findings can be met. This is a, great location in the downtown. It seems like a appropriate and compatible use given the surroundings and what the city wants to see in the downtown. And so I will be approving this resolution and sign it as soon as the clarified condition comes back. Thank you very much. I just realized I did not open public comment.
That is true.
So,
The record can reflect that there are no people present eligible to make such a public comment.
okay. Thank you very much for that. And I do want to add that this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the Planning and Economic Development Department within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 2062-030. And so for this item, that date is Monday, August the 18th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I need a brief moment here. I'm going to grab a paper off the table.
Sure.
I'll see you, I'll come back to the office on my way back to you.
And you got one of your last action from the bottom list.
Okay, so we will move on to item 6.2. This is a minor design review application for a new lobby building, and Ms. Hartman will be giving the staff presentation.
Thank you, zoning administrator Nicholson. My name is Suzanne Hartman, and I am the project lead for the new lobby building with landscaping at 3555 Round Barn Boulevard. Just to give a little bit of history on the site, it was mostly destroyed during the Tubbs fire, so they're doing a lot of rebuilding. So this is one of the phases, is rebuilding their lobby building and having landscaping with it. From this aerial view here, you can see that there are proposed to be 2 entry sites from the main road around Barn Boulevard. And there is also an existing fire lane that is only going to be used for the fire department, mainly for during emergencies. But it is there and it is in use. This is a zoomed out layer of the subject property, and it is surrounded by various residential and commercial uses and is next to the 101. The zoning district is Plan Development, or PD for short, which is a zoning district that implements general plan goals through specific site developments. And the general plan land use designation is retail and business services. And this hotel use is consistent with that land use designation. Sorry about that. These are the supporting plans. Some of the proposed materials for the lobby building include metal siding and roofing, vertical wood cladding, and some painted stucco siding as well. The project has been found categorically exempt from CEQA, which is short for the California Environmental Quality Act, because it's a replacement structure of substantially the same size, purpose, and capacity. And it's also statutorically exempt because the project is consistent with the general plan. Some of the public comments that were received, which have also been included on this meeting agenda, had to do with the current state of the fire lane. They were basically asking whether it was still in use and we clarified that it was. There was some concern over the proposed building material, and there was also a question on whether the dead and dying vegetation and trees have already been removed, and just about the general upkeep of the landscaping. I did want to point out that there is a condition of approval saying that all landscaping must be continuously maintained. And I will also I'll defer to the applicant to provide a little bit more detailed response to the concern over the proposed building material. The applicant has reviewed and accepted all conditions of approval, and staff analysis has concluded that all findings can be met. So therefore, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator, by resolution, approve a minor design review permit to allow construction of a new lobby building with landscaping at 3555 Round Barred Boulevard. And my contact information is at the bottom of the screen if you have any questions. And our applicant is on Zoom, who can further discuss those responses as well as answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I don't have any questions for you at this time because I'd like to hear from the applicant, and then I may have a follow-up question for you. So is the applicant available and wishing to make any comments or add to staff's presentation for this item?
Yes.
Hello, I'm Adriana Cook from Eris Studio Architects. Thank you, Suzanne, for that presentation. So the materials that we're using are all, we're very conscientious of the Tubbs fires and not wanting these newly proposed buildings to burn down. We are very conscientious of the wildland urban interface and the various materials that are required. The wood siding is an impregnated fire retardant over Duns glass, so it is a 1 hour wall. It is a Class B cladding, and so it's the same as the metal siding in regards to fire. And then as far as the landscaping goes, we are also, like Suzanne said, meeting the conditions of approval with defensible space and keeping everything mowed and maintained. Again, we're just as concerned about fire as everybody else. So I hope that answers it, and I'm available for any other questions.
Great, thank you very much. And there are no members of the public, and we're only taking comments in public. So we'll move past that. And I do have just a few clarifying questions. So one relates to the fire lane. So is that just an emergency vehicle access? Okay.
Yes.
And so that's existing, and there's
Yes.
no change proposed as a part of this project?
Correct.
Okay. And there is landscaping proposed as a part of this. And in addition, you've added the condition which requires that the entire site be maintained. Okay. I appreciate the various materials that are included in the design, as well as the architectural style. I like the incorporation of the wood element, as well as just hearing a little bit more background related to the quality of the material as it relates to fire, knowing that the site has burned previously and it's in the wildland urban interface. So I believe that all of the design review findings can be met as this project is proposed and also conditioned. So I will go ahead and sign this resolution of approval. And Please note that this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the Planning and Economic Development Department within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 2062-030. For this item, that date is Monday, August 18th, 2025. Thank you very much. And that concludes item 6.2. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay. We're moving on to our final item for today. This is item 6.3. This is for the Hansel Ford Service building, and it's a minor conditional use permit. And Ms. Biesla will be giving the staff presentation.
Thank you, Zoning Administrator Nicholson. The project before you today is a minor conditional use permit request for the Hansel Ford Service Building at 0 Wilgen Court. The minor conditional use permit request is for the vehicle services, major repair and bodywork land use. They plan to construct a new 13,925 square foot metal building with 14 commercial vehicle service bays. There will also be a fluids room, break room, bathrooms, and a small office. The services include major engine and or transmission repair and or rebuilding and the general servicing of large trucks. They plan to be open from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday with about 14 employees. And major design review is also required for the construction of the new building. There will be a public hearing today at 4:30 p.m. at the Design Review and Preservation Board meeting for the major design review. Here's a neighborhood context map. The site is located just next to the Hansel Ford dealership on the south end of Corby Avenue. And here's a closer aerial view of the site. So it's currently a parking lot to this existing Hansel Ford dealership. The dealership also currently has a minor vehicle services on site for the public, but this would be only for commercial vehicles. And so the general public will not be accessing this site, and the access would be taken from Corby Avenue on the east and going through the back of the dealership site. The general plan land use designation is light industry, and the zoning district is light industrial as well, which supports vehicle services, major repair with an approved minor conditional use permit. And this site is also located within the Roseland area Sebastopol Road specific plan. Here's what the existing site looks like. Again, it's just a parking lot right now. And so here's the proposed site plan. That bottom half, the parking would be going away to construct the new building. And there's also some new landscaping that will be going in. Here are the proposed elevations and photo renderings just for reference. But again, this will be, the design will be heard by the Design Review and Preservation Board this afternoon. The proposed project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act and is statutorily exempt because it is consistent with the general plan and the general plan's environmental impact report. And none of the criteria which would trigger a new EIR have been met. Therefore, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the zoning administrator by resolution approve a minor conditional use permit for vehicle services, major repair and bodywork at the proposed Hansel Ford Service Building located at 0 Wilgen Court. And for any questions or comments, this is my contact information. I believe we do have the applicant available to answer any questions as well.
Thank you so much. Would the applicant like to make any comments? If so, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom.
You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can.
Okay, so I just, no real comment other than to say thank you to Noor for, we've been working together on this project for quite some time, and I appreciate all the hard work. I think it's pretty straightforward in industrial use and an industrial zone, and so I believe this is, it's a partnership between Ford Motor Company and Hansel Ford to provide better large commercial service to the area so that a lot of these trucks that have been going out of the area won't be going up and down the highway as much. So thanks again. And that's really the only comment, but I am available if there's any questions.
Great, thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge for the record, there are no members of the public in the meeting room, so we will not open public comment on this item. I do have one question, and it just relates to access. So I heard you mention that access would be off of Corby. So would no access be provided off of Wilgen? Is that?
No.
Okay.
I believe it is currently gated off and they plan to keep the existing gate there. I think there is a emergency vehicle access, it seems like that's what it would be used for. There is a curb cut there,
Okay.
but it will be gated off.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then no public comments received on this item, is that
No.
correct? Okay, great. So I have reviewed each of the findings for this minor use permit, which is really focusing on if the use is compatible and appropriate for the site. I believe each of those findings can be met given the surrounding development, and also this zoning district is really intended for uses just like this. I see that there are numerous conditions related to environmental compliance, which is important for a use like this. So I will be signing the resolution to approve this project. And thank you to the applicant for attending. Members of the public listening, please note that this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the Planning and Economic Development Department within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 2062-030. For this item, that date is Monday, August 18th. Thank you very much. That concludes our scheduled items for today, so I will move to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you very much.